I am not a China expert, and I'm looking at all of you to help fill in the blanks. Right now at Coca-Cola Company, we have a lot of dots, and we're trying to connect those dots. So I think the theme of the conference is going to go pretty well here. What I'm saying is that how we're going to transform Coke's Red Army, and little play on words there, obviously. We have 50,000 workers in China, 47 factories. But right now, how we're doing business, I would probably call it 19th century. And I have to deal with Atlanta, that's my headquarters. Everybody's a China expert until they come to China, and then they can't wait to get the hell out of there. I do understand our business of 35 years in it. It's amazing they left Côte d'Ivoire off here. That was one of my, I always come to France and kiss the flag because they bailed out my office. The French military bailed me out of Côte d'Ivoire 2 times and got me out of there. But I kind of understand our business. When I left Procter & Gamble, I thought I was going to become the architect of the Coca-Cola Company, and somehow I ended up becoming the plumber. My last job before China was I had 32 countries. And let me just say it that not many Americans go to bed at night saying, thank God for Iraq, Iran, Pakistan, Palestine, and Egypt. So we had a very interesting business. We're all here because we all know that we see China the future, right? I mean, and how it's moving and progression and the light speed of what's happening is just, quite frankly, incredible. And how do you take an iconic Western brand like Coca-Cola, and we're going to have a little fireside chat later and talk about, can even Western brands survive in this type of environment? You know, can you make money in this type of environment? I'm very disappointed. I was talking to Tom last night. I'm very disappointed in my peer companies because, I mean, almost all of them are kind of stepping back, saying, we don't know if we can make money here. Well, geez, you can't sell to 1 billion people. If you can't sell cars to a market that's 25 million cars a year, then what the hell are you doing, right? You're not going to become a worldwide player. And quite frankly, my competitors stepped back, and I think a couple times the Coca-Cola Company actually said, wow, you know, this one might be too hard. What do you mean too hard? There's 1.4 billion people. So I think the scale and the mass and just everybody has pretty much seen these charts and how, you know, it was stagnant for a long time, and then categories started coming, and then the whole digital explosion. And I'll share all these slides on the website. There's nothing proprietary here. And just how it moved and trying to explain this back to corporate America. And now I just sit there and go, whatever I told you before, add 3 zeros to it. You know, and sometimes they don't want to hear that. And you look at what happened to Yum China, right? I mean, it's number 4, I think it's going to be a number 3 pretty soon, market-ranked restaurant in the world, right? And that came out of Pizza Hut and KFC, and they sell, by the way, 1 out of every 4 chickens goes to Young China. You know, they got 7,500 restaurants. They're opening 1 restaurant in the morning and 1 in the afternoon every single day. Massive. But their corporate parents said, wow, we can't fund that. We don't know what the returns are. It's a dark hole. So you got this short-term, quarterly Western obsession with Wall Street coupled with this massive expansion that you have to do to grab things, and it's a very interesting conflict for a Western brand. So hopefully in our fireside chat we'll get into that. The scale of Chinese consumption has been, we all know that the new normal now is the rich and affluent and what that's doing in the dislocation. And I think they've done a fantastic job of coming out of this whole huge industrial age with the One Belt, One Road policy, which is quite frankly a Marshall Plan. How do you keep the factories running so you don't have a tremendous social dislocation, right? It's very brilliant. And I actually said in President Xi's One Belt, One Road forum, and you're from Chad, all of a sudden the Chinese government comes up and says, here's $20 billion. And by the way, we're going to build your port, your railroad, your highways, all your infrastructure, and you're going to give me a 70-year, 2% interest loan. And oh, by the way, you only have to pay us at the end. That's a pretty damn good deal. I was with the Minister of Industry from Egypt. They offered to build him everything. Yeah, low interest roads. But once again, it keeps the machine humming back home. And you can start to go and transfer to this consumer-led economy that they're starting to drive. And once again, I think it might be even getting a little bit out of their hand. If you look at what's happened to the banking system, where the money is, you know, we have to remind our associates when they go to Atlanta for training, by the way, you got to bring a credit card. You got to bring you know about the passport thing, but half of them get on the plane without a wallet now. You've already talked about the cashless society. So it's happening really quickly, and for big brands such as us that focus on the consumer, outlet, and individual, it's a huge transformation. So once again, this will all be on, you know all these numbers, but the numbers just stagger me, and I love putting them down just because it tells me what I don't know. How the Coca-Cola company starts to segment consumers. And this, we've done a lot of research on this, and it's just not rich or poor, rural or urban anymore. There's actually, you're starting to merge different spheres, and we actually look at it on a three-dimensional box way of how we go through. There's still tremendous amount, what we call empty nesters, relatively, that's usually who's watching the kids in the rural areas. But, they still are starting to get a lot more money than they had before. And then you go all the way up to, the aspiring super rich. And there's countries within a country. And anybody who calls China a country is wrong. It's a continent, right? And it's a continent with all sorts of different ecosystems starting to emerge. There's 100 cities over 1 million. You know all of that. But it's just fun to talk about it because the opportunity is so great. Our new growth vision is this is how we kind of see the world in one little dynamic. Believe it or not, every man, woman, and child on the earth drinks 8 commercial beverages a day. Okay, that sounds like a lot, believe me. That's 8 commercial beverages a day, whether it's a Starbucks or a water or something along those lines. China's a little unique in this aspect, and I'll get to that in a second. That drives us roughly, Coca-Cola Company, we sell 1.9 billion servings of those beverages a day, okay? We're still trying to, if I do my job in China, we'll get over the 2 billion part, right? And that's water, we got juices, we have milks, we have the iconic brands and everything else. So we're looking at about 500,000 employees across the world. Here's what we have in China right now, a little less. It's not 8, it's 5 commercial beverages a day. And how we scale that up, you can see, no, we didn't have a problem at the production plant. This is our relative market share in each one of those categories, okay? In sparkling, believe it or not, we sell a lot more Sprite than we do Coca-Cola. Because why? The big jug of Sprite is treated as a tea, and it's drunk at ambient temperatures. You don't want to drink too many warm Cokes, but they drink it all day. So I got about 60 share in that category. See the water? I'm number 3 water player. I have about 7 share across all of China. In tea, the Coca-Cola Company is proudly 0 for 9 on launching tea in China. We cannot sell tea to the Chinese, so we got to work on that. And I think it's probably the fact that we always parachute in the 2-year expat, and then he parachutes out. So we finally hired a Chinese marketing director. Voila, let's see if we can sell tea. Milk, we have one of the highest value-added dairy businesses, so to Minute Maid Super Pocky, it's 1% of the total business. Milk is a $50 billion category in China and growing exponentially. Only place in the world where milk is growing. Juice, I'm the number 1 juice player, and I have 9% of the total market. Now, where does the number 1 player have 9% of a market? It's phenomenal. How we measure our global businesses is consumption for every man, woman, and child on a per capita basis. And a sweet spot for us is the global average is about 100 a year, okay? A really good place is where Germany is at around a 200 range. You'll see in Mexico where we have a great market share. We have a huge juice business. We have a huge dairy business. They actually, in Mexico, they actually compete against themselves and have what they call platforms inside stores. So here's the hydration platform, here's the nutrition platform, and it's something to emulate throughout the world. And then you see China on the continuum. Once again, I got 47 plants. I don't know where I'm going to put another 500, but I'm going to have to get to another 500 if I want to get to the Coca-Cola global averages. And 43 is per capita. I don't even sell 1 drink per week for every man, woman, child. So it's a great opportunity number. It's a really scary number when I go back to Atlanta and say, hey, you know that 350 million I needed last week? I need like 3 or 4 billion. And they go, whoops, but that's what I need. And so we're going to have to make some conscious choices in the Coca-Cola company, because you can't even acquire that type of share. You're going to have to build it out. So it's going to be a massive effort. So we've actually refranchised all of our operations. We have a state-owned company, COFCO in the north, Swire in the south. And we better hope they have really, really deep pockets, because we're going to be coming at them really hard if we're going to start to build this thing out. We've also had to transform our marketing. In the old days, we did it the P&G, the Unilever, the Colgate ways, and we just said, we'll launch it when they're ready for it. It doesn't work anymore. They can get whatever they want tomorrow. Somebody's going to supply that need. They're going to get it online. The consumer is so much smarter and probably more wired in than any consumer we've now seen, especially at that upper echelon level. So a lot of work is now going in how we can keep that connection with the consumer, keep that relevance, and then try to pull it forward with a really, really unique value system. One of the things that's pretty funny, we're now starting to take brands in China, developed in China, and the first thing we did is ramp up our R&D. We now have the largest R&D really department. And when you're in Shanghai, I'll take you for a tour from it, and that might be something we can do as an offshoot one day. Maybe we'll have the cocktail party at the Coca-Cola R&D Center. And believe it or not, today we announced that we're going to start for the first time putting alcohol pre-mixed with Coca-Cola and other brands. So the Schweppes Gin and Tonic is going to be a thing of reality. I'm going to see our employee parties are going to get a lot more fun. It's going to look like the Moët Hennessy thing. But we have the #1 juice brand in China, and it has really unique things, and it's most of the Western consumers say, take the pulp out. The Chinese said, all the pulp you have, put it in it. We want to taste pulp, and we want to pretend like we're biting into a real orange. And it took us a long, long time to decipher that and go through and do that. But we now have a brand. It's #1 in China, and it's now in 32 countries in 1 year's time with big, chewy. It's a chewable orange drink, believe it or not. So, and once again, it's Chinese leading the world, and it's doing very, very well. But we just got to keep on connected with it. How do you take a Western brand and make it Chinese? Well, it starts with getting rid of all the Western marketing guys and bringing in Chinese people. And we actually spent a tremendous amount of time of going through and bringing people into Atlanta, having spent years there to understand the nomenclature of the company. Because the problem is they always had great ideas, but they never got them translated. And then they never got approved. The best thing, the best country we have that operates right now in the company and really talks to the consumer is Japan. Why? Because nobody ever understood the Japanese, and they just did their own thing, and they said, if you want to change it, come see us. And everybody said, that's too hard. And Japan's developed this unbelievable business. It's the #2 profit contributor to the company. And they make over $1 billion a year. They have 1 million vending machines doing what only the Japanese can do, and they launch 4 new brands every other week. Okay, and they just talk to their consumers. They get rid of brands. There's no hierarchy. It's how they do things. It's classical Japanese. So I want to transform our marketing model in China to what we actually have in Japan, which is kind of like, don't bother us. We're going to go ahead and do what we got to do and take it later. But one of the ways is what we looked at is how we took some great ideas around the world and then adapt them for the experience for China. So, and we try to sit there and look at what's happening with the social system. So in 2013, it was self-identity. We were putting people's names on the bottles. That led to expression and musical lyrics. Then everybody follows, we looked at the media explosion that's happening there. Probably a bad example now with the government because they went out and bought all the media assets, but they own them and they got them. And so we're looking at quotes from movies and then recognition, and then all of a sudden it's probably the only place in the world where 666 means I love you and everything else, but fun stuff. And so we start to see tremendous growth. We sit there, and once again, we're a consumer products company. We overanalyze everything. We are so good at looking backwards that you'll never deny what we go and look backwards on. But the problem is looking forward in China because it's happening so fast and moving so fast. So We think we've hit a couple sweet spots with the consumer. The highest growth for red Coca-Cola, we call it. The mothership is growing the fastest in the world. We're the number one contributor to volume to the whole company, and we've gotten this nice little spot now that we're moving forward on, and then we're looking at how we launch new brands and taking that through. Okay, this is all great, but it's old. This is, if I put this chart up next year at this conference, I would have lost. Because, okay, pricing I can figure out, packaging I can kind of screw around with, distribution and merchandising, what does that mean? What's that mean nowadays? In the Coca-Cola company, we think we're a really good marketing company, and that's fairly arrogant. Okay, we're an okay marketing company. But what we are really good at is we're a fantastic distribution company. And we understand what goes on in the outlet. I have the new, we saw a Visit Cooler in Hennessy last night. I have coolers that actually read themselves and tell you what they're selling. I got coolers now that do facial recognition. I can do all that stuff, right? But with the guys ordering online, if the person's getting just-in-time delivery to their cell phone, none of that matters, right? So that's another thing we got to talk about is what does an outlet look like? An outlet now for me is a smartphone, which is pretty dang scary because I've built up this whole distribution system we put 10,000 trucks on the road every day, okay? So, so I think a couple of these things look fun, but they're so outmoded. So as I said, I can screw around with the packaging. But then I got people coming to our office going, I want Zico. You own Zico. I go, oh, well, Zico comes out of Thailand. It's only green coconuts. And boy, they don't care. They want Zico now. I was in the middle of nowhere, and this little outlet had Coke Plus. Coke Plus is something that we only did in Japan. It's Coca-Cola with zero sugar, and it has fiber in it. It has the fiber of 3 apples in it. The Japanese love that stuff. We also have a brand called Sleep Water. We have Smart Water in the U.S. They have Sleep Water for Japan. It helps you sleep better. Has some enzymes in it, blah, blah, blah. And only in Japan would that be a huge hit. You can find it in the middle of anywhere in China now. They pull it off the net, they move it in, and of course, we're sitting there going, no, you're not ready for that, consumer. Yeah, the consumer always wins. But, so I would say our digital strategy, I'm going to show you just a bunch of stuff we're throwing against the wall. We're big enough that we can probably pick where we want to go, but I kind of had work in progress, and I kind of crossed that out, and I said that's our digital strategy at this point for a huge business is actually work in confusion, okay? And we're confused. It's nice to be confused. It's nice to be able to have the luxury of time. I don't know if I have that, but I'm going to have to make some really conscious choices in this marketplace if I want to win. This guy, this little beggar guy, he's got a strategy, right? He doesn't accept cash anymore. So this is just our little take on what's happening right now. You guys have all seen this. You all live this. You all know this. This is why you're in the room. I was trying to put some things on 2 or 3 slides, and this is what I showed to our board. It kind of just impresses what's happening with the mobile users. Yeah, we know there's a ton of them out there. We know it's 11 times the U.S. payment. We know it's exponential. We know that the retail ordering behavior now is getting really, really scary. I was in line at the darkest hour at the movie theater. I pay $3,000 per theater, so they serve Coca exclusively, okay? And they got their little stand there, and everything's cool, and it's all nice. And the guys are waiting in line. Oh, who shows up? Little food aggregator guy. The guys are in line and giving them sacks of food. They put it under their coat and walk into the movie theater. They found them online. Unbelievable stuff. So it's going to disrupt everything and how we think about it. So, and we all know that's happening and what's happening with the meals. We've actually traced backwards on a lot of these models. We don't know where the money is yet. We don't know if money's really there, but the habit's there. And if the habit's there, usually a profitable business follows. But we've spent a lot of time in this space. This is just... everybody's selling. I don't know what they're selling. And obviously we do a lot of work with Alibaba and Tencent. We were like the beverage of the year in Alibaba, and the same with Tencent. But this is just, what this ecosystem looks like for Alibaba and coming to us, right? And I tried to list it all down, and they're trying to sell against every single one. They haven't connected all the dots either. Okay, thank God for us yet. I mean, one of the things I live in mortal fear of, one day they'll launch an alley Coca-Cola or something, and it'll be interesting. I'm sure that's coming one day. But, everybody we talked about, Lori talked about the market caps and all of how it works, but every single one, they're trying to connect these dots and where it comes and where do we fit in as a consumer product. And that's a pretty daunting task when you look at this chart and then try to figure out where am I going to play. We've looked at how we're looking at certain things. We are making some conscious choices going forward. And we've actually put it down to an engagement policy of how we transform our consumer experience, how we look at what happens with the shopper, then what happens with the customer. Right now, the customer is kind of the weakest link. And I know everybody has ideas in here. And congratulations, Laura, you got a full house. Good job. I better tell some more jokes. One of the ways we're looking at is digital marketing. We had a marketing campaign for the Rio Olympics. It was a just-in-time platform. We had people working, because of the time difference, et cetera, working 24 hours. So China wins the women's gold in volleyball, we can get an ad out that moment, right? Chinese, I think he's a diver, he proposes to the girlfriend, boom, we can get that online in 3 seconds and, wish him well. And then we started looking at how do we look at, how to tie the consumer experience, what we're doing on an ad, and how do we tie that back through so that we can start pulling that in-store, we can start pulling that experience into even our packaging and going forward. So we got a pretty fun thing in how we did that.
Chinese New Year is the biggest single human event on Earth. And during this tremendous occasion, Coca-Cola made use of its 2 Chinese mascots named Afu and Ajiao in order to bring its international brand closer to Chinese traditions. At its core, Chinese New Year is about togetherness with friends and family. And giving red envelopes with lucky money is a distinctive feature of the Chinese New Year celebration. This time, Coke sought to invent a new way for giving red envelopes and joined hands with Youku, part of Alibaba Digital Media and Entertainment Group, to make it more original, fun, and convey the meaning of togetherness. Use of Alipay mobile payment tools to scan and pay has become a daily habit of Chinese people. So, we upgraded these capabilities with AR, augmented reality technology. Alipay users simply scanned images of Afu and Ajiao, and they could immediately interact with these characters in an AR environment and get a personalized holiday card and lucky red envelope from Coca-Cola. What made it extra special was using Alibaba's big data on shopping behavior, which gave Afu and Ajiao the ability to provide personal moments from the past year on each card that could also be shared through Alipay's app, reinforcing the message of togetherness. What's more, the use of Alipay's red envelope map allowed users to find a nearby Coca-Cola sales outlet, which directly linked to Coke sales. Youku extended the campaign to family time during Chinese New Year with its home entertainment products, including OTT services. Youku pre-roll ads and promotional resources were also used to support awareness of the campaign. By leveraging AR, big data, LBS, and other technologies to transform holiday traditions, Coca-Cola established a unique emotional connection between the brand and consumers. In the span of 1 month, 100 million people got involved and over 1 million Coca-Cola Lucky Red envelopes were distributed.
The scary thing is we knew where they bought the Coke, when they consumed the Coke, when they scanned the thing. Now, knitting that all together and making a marketing proposition out of it, that's probably still a little bit beyond us, but I mean, it was a pretty incredible thing, and it kind of talked about what we're looking at. So we're doing it with the consumer. The shopper's starting to transform in how we're looking at that, how we're looking at availability with big data. We're actually saying here is that generally we would do ventures in emerging brands with some upcoming brands. We're actually starting to move into some of the digital space now and saying, how do we go and enhance our distribution? What's our next level of distribution? How are we going to look at that? One of the things we just did a pilot with Wind Channel, and in 1 month's time, this is 2017, but it was actually 1 month trial, we found 60,000 outlets where they weren't serving Coke. And if you ask our bottlers, they said, no, we cover everybody. Don't worry about it. We got it all done. We've done our job. 60,000 outlets, and we placed 60,000 coolers. So we're actually rethinking our model, and they're saying we can place 1,000 new customers a day. So I got to say about where did I get the coolers? How do I get the people in there to do that? So it's a phenomenal story.
After 20 years of rapid growth, China's economy is gradually slowing down and entering into new normal. E-commerce platforms leads consumers to online shopping. Model trade keeps on declining. At the same time, traditional trading stores are increasing gradually, becoming the growth driver. However, the rising of labor and logistic costs push manufacturers to find new ways to serve these stores. Huixiadan platform, a perfect solution with both internet and FMCG DNA. At 8 a.m., storekeeper Liu Juan starts her business from stock counting as usual. Things are a bit different today. Liu Juan uses mobile app to place orders. The order operation is quite user-friendly. She has learned operating process quickly. Liu Juan plans to replenish some drinks. Opening app, she finds there is drink promotion just on time. After checking prices and promotion rules, she thinks it's really a good deal. Then she adds several cases of drinks to shopping cart. Chooses coupon and clicks order confirmation. Now, what she needs to do is wait for the product delivery. Meanwhile, the back operation has split her order automatically and sent them to related distributors who have been appointed by manufacturers in advance. At around 15 p.m., driver Xiaoqin from distributor delivers products to the store. After counting and confirming SKU and quantity, Liu Juan signs for the delivery and makes e-payment instantly. Then she immediately receives a pop-up message about display motivation sent by the system. So she displays products as guideline, takes and uploads photos. The back operation checks her photos and confirms qualification, sends a coupon into her account at once. The full set of order instrument brings stores following benefits. 1. Quality products and services guarantee. 2. Convenient and preferential ordering experience. What's more, Huixiadan also helps distributor to achieve 1. Extended coverage network. 2. Steady improvement of customer relationship. Huixiadan creates following core values for manufacturers. 1. Quality coverage extension with high efficiency. 2. Improve in-store service efficiency. This new types of business model has gotten full support from hundreds of top brands and tens of thousands of regional distributors. Huixiadan will be the largest offline e-commerce platform connecting about 5 million stores. Just an easy click, business grows.
We still have a spell check problem with grows, but other than that. So we're doing a lot of stuff with customers. We're now linking that back into our production forecasting. It's great for us. We got 2,127 SKUs in China, so trying to get all those out the door happens immensely. But once again, it's my earlier question, what happens? I know about 12 million outlets. We deliver to those almost on a daily basis. But it's the 450 million households I don't have a clue on. And then the 1.4 billion smartphones, which are now outlets. Our partners, McDonald's, all those guys, are saying, should I build new outlets? If somebody just wants their burger given to me, or I'm going to find them at a park, why do I have to deal with opening an outlet in a shopping mall? So it's a phenomenal thing. Obviously, Coca-Cola, we're still working on that last mile, and we took this shot. This guy's working on the last mile too. It's Joe, my guy at the doorman at my apartment, had the best job in the world. He used to have 11 letters a day. Now, before 9 a.m., he has 11 truckloads of internet delivered stuff at the apartment complex. 11. And they're just kicking this stuff off. The one thing they haven't figured out yet is packaging, delivery, addresses, and all that fun stuff, but they will figure it out. Our modern-day founder, Robert Woodruff, and the reason Coca-Cola is as big as it is, he said the world belongs to the discontented, and he is right. And if you want to be contented, don't come to China. But if you want to be discontented, what a great business. So we're going to do a little. Thank you, everyone. We're going to do a little fireside chat and go through.
You want to sit?
I've only been there 1 year, so please go easy on me. But I'll find you an answer, okay?
Okay. Yeah, so many interesting things. In fact, well, instead of asking the first questions, I wanted to... any one of you, do you have a question? Let's start with you. Any questions regarding this talk? Different areas of discussion? No? Okay, I'm going to start.
Okay, great.
Yeah, we were talking, I mean, in this market, we know that now there's really the rise of Chinese brands. It's becoming super more competitive, and beyond actually local tasters, it's really a question of a market which is super crowded and super, indeed, competitive for Western brands. So one question, indeed, can Western brands survive? And if they do, how?
Yeah, I think my take on it is Western brands have to have something they don't have a lot of times, is patience. Patience to get it right, patience to adapt, and patience to localize your product. There's going to be, we have a small brand called Innocent in the UK, and it's now throughout Europe, and it's a very profitable, successful juice brand. It's a smoothie brand. It's a cute little brand. It means harm to no one. In fact, 10% of its profits go to charities. But the guy said, we should launch it in China. I go, you'll get smothered. You'll get killed. You'll get destroyed. They'll copy that. They'll mutate it. It'll be 15 other things, and it'll get out of your hands. So unless you're going to go big and have the patience to do it the right way and with the right resources, forget it for now. You know, so I mean, it's really a dilemma. You can have really profitable, fun niche things, but you're going to have them just in certain places because they're going to copy you. They're going to figure out a better way to do it. They're going to figure out a cheaper way to do it, and you know, and I think that's one of the Western brands have to rethink their whole scale type of mindset. You know, so it's two dilemmas. We've actually tried to address it a little bit. We have what we call dragon brands, and we're having fun with it. A dragon brand you don't touch. That's a brand that's going to go and eat its own way and do whatever. And then we're actually launching what we call rabbits. And some of those rabbits aren't going to survive, but we're going to try to get faster and try to multiply those rabbits as we go.
I remember we had this discussion. New retail is going to be really an important topic during those 2 days. And when we had this talk, you were mentioning at the very beginning of yours about the Japanese and even Taiwan as a place where you were picking some ideas. That was an innovation lab for you. In terms of precisely new retail, I would say for you category, what do you see is going to be the future of retail for you category? And in fact, when we say that a lot is coming from China, how much compared to, say, Taiwan or Korea or Japan, precisely?
No, Korea has a cool little model. However, Korea hasn't been able to export that model, and it's all the big company driven. Hong Kong's probably a better example. Hong Kong's kind of a cool mix of the internet, smaller store formats, crazier models, those type of things. Probably, I think what the future of retailing looks like is going to be the just-in-time model, though, of what Japan's envisioned on, you know, through the Lawsons, the 7-Elevens, that quick turnover, just-in-time delivery, high margin, and they've kind of insulated themselves from the internet and done a great job with it. On the whole restaurant space and QSR space, quick service restaurants, that's still a jump ball in my mind. How do they survive and how they go forward? That's a very, very interesting dilemma. Otherwise, you just end up with internet cafes. You know.
But you said that Starbucks was your main competitor in China.
Oh yeah, Starbucks. It's thank God for China, or else Starbucks wouldn't have had any growth last year, right? And I remember when I first talked to the Starbucks people, they said even everybody was saying you can't sell coffee to the Chinese, right? And you know, I think they're up 2,500 outlets, right? And they want to move it to 7. So, yeah. But I mean the model. Once again, they adapted the model. They made the model local, and they made it easy. I mean, the Starbucks app is very easy to order on, and every day I go in and I give them 42 RMB for my large latte, and it's a seamless transaction, and and I stand in line, and for some reason, if you stand in line in China, it makes it even cooler. So, and so you stand in line. Yeah, but good.
Making money with digital? That's a question.
We've
For
actually,
you, with so low margins?
you can do it, but working backwards on a lot of the models that we have, and we've actually programmed them out and looked at them very, very intensely. There isn't a lot of money being made right now. The HEMAs and the just-in-time delivery and all that kind of gets food aggregators. A friend of mine bought into Sherpa and paid a lot of money for it. He goes, wow, I paid a lot of money to lose a lot of money. What a great business. But once again, the habit's there. And that habit's not going to go away, and people will figure out what that model is. And you know, I always laugh about how they mass customize things so fast and get into the market. You know, I mean, who tried to cross the street, and how many rental bikes do you have to walk around to cross the street now? And how people enter those markets so fast and so quick with the low cost of capital and IPOs and everything. So it's going to be a very, I don't have the answers yet. You invite me back next year, maybe I can connect 2 or 3 dots, right? But right now we have a lot of dots on the wall. And as I said, we're taking little stakes in some of these companies. We're actually taking some equity stakes and moving that forward just so we have a seat at the table before the table moves. You know?
Okay.
We have one question.
Thanks
there.
very much.
Yeah.
Sure.
Sorry.
Good. Yeah, the microphone is coming.
Thank you very much for your speech. It's very interesting for us. Just one question. No, you're talking about the new retail. Recently, Tencent talking about to buy Yonghui
Sure.
supermarket,
Yeah.
and also Alibaba and talking about buy the Kaohsiung.
Sure.
So, what do you think? Those kind of a big player, online player, they want to buy the offline outlets. What do you think about? What's your point of view?
I don't know exactly what their thinking is, but I have been with the top guys of Amazon, and you know, and why would, you know, they buy Whole Foods, right? You're like going, well, you're already in this business. You have Amazon Fresh, blah blah blah, and they looked at as adding credentials and to study from that model, not to expand the model per se. They think they can make the model more efficient and help what they're doing, but they were actually looking at. I'm just talking about Amazon's idea for why Whole Foods is that they said gave them credentials. Whole Foods has a good name. It also gave them outlets for fresh things that they can deliver to. That's a little different in China. I really don't know why they want to get into those big boxes, right? Because even the big Western brands, the Carrefours, whatever, are trying to get out of the big boxes, big box stores and that type of experience, because it doesn't fit the model of the mass turnover, right? So, you know, we're actually looking at, while we're building more factories, more production assets, we're looking at digital to actually shrink a lot of our distribution footprint. We don't need warehouses now. I don't need to hold 43 days worth of stock. I don't need to hold, you know, if we're getting a lot more efficient in how we're, you know, how we're moving product. Now, I don't want to end up like KFC in the UK, right? Well, then one day I'm out of chickens. But, you know, and that can also happen in these type of models. But I think that's still a work in progress, and I think that's kind of them buying everything, kind of like us investing in things here and there, just to see what the model is and whether you can dissect it and make it better, I think. Please.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, sorry?
You said that you lived in fear of one day when Alibaba will be creating Ali Cola.
Yeah. Hope I didn't give them an idea, you know.
Yet.
Yeah.
But how much are you at the mercy of the big digital platforms like Alibaba, the Chinese business?
That was on our list of questions. Are they friend or foe? Now, obviously, when they're selling you something, they're your best friend, right? But you know, I mean, we're glad they're two to dance with right now, and you know, they're getting stronger. They're buying into some really innovative things, especially in the distribution space. As I said, they haven't connected all their dots yet either, and what actually can they do with all this stuff, but the data's there. So, you know, when somebody else you're delivering to knows your customer consumer better than you, I think you always got to sleep with one eye open. You know, that's a pretty scary proposition. Sorry.
Fantastic.
Great.
I think we're going to close with
Yeah,
this
thank you.
fantastic word.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you.